Hello guys, welcome to this ethics keyword series, and the first keyword that we'll be taking up today is integrity. And in this particular series what we will do is we'll have a 360-degree understanding of keyword. We'll be doing around 25 to 30 keywords, and not only those keywords in the syllabus but those keywords which have been asked by UPSC, right? And we'll be covering them keeping in mind that whatever question comes, you will be able to write a decent and a very good answer. So in this particular series, we'll not only deal with the definition. Again, definition is very important. Definition, types or characteristics, examples and quotations. You know how it is important. Examples and quotations are important in your answer writing, right? Along with what? For every word we will be giving you schematics, flowcharts, right, to use, diagrams to be used in your answers to elevate your answer. And because you do that, so you will be applying all these concepts in your UPSC PYQs, right? So the moment you do that, it will act as a score differentiator. It will act as a score differentiator. The difference between 90, 95 and 115, 120. So integrity means what? Integrity means wholeness. It means wholeness, right? Wholeness, it's not punctuated by corruption, it is wholeness, and it comes from the word integer. We have studied integer in mathematics, right? It comes from the word integer, which means that it's something which is complete, not broken, right? Okay, so we have understood the term. Now, very famous quote that is associated with integrity, but it's not the definition of integrity. We write this as the definition of integrity and hence make a mistake. The famous quote that is associated with integrity is by C.S. Lewis. C.S. Lewis, he was a British author, right? And he said, and we quote often, is doing the right thing even when no one is looking. Doing the right thing even when no one is looking. Somebody like firm belief in your act, right, is an example of integrity. When no one is looking, you're doing the right, right? So, but the definition is different. Definition is what? Consistency of values, words and action. This is the most important. Remember guys, this is the diagram that we will be giving when we are discussing integrity. We have words, we have actions, and values, and safely ensconced between this words, actions and values is integrity. And let's understand this guys. So what does it mean? What does it mean? That is a consistency of value. Consistency of values, words and actions. Human beings are nothing but accumulation of value system. It can be anything. Value system means what? Courage, faith, belief. These are the value system that you are made of, right? And these are very internal in being. These are very internal. Like I cannot display my values. Yes, I can talk about it. I can talk about my values, right? So talking, this is the words. When we talk, when we share opinions, when we share our concerns, when we share our argument, when we share our anger, these are all reflected in our words, and these are based on what? It is based on our value system. It is based on who we are, accumulated value system, right? But integrity is just not that. Integrity is what? Integrity is that I have a particular value, right? I say about this, I discuss about this particular value, and I follow through. This is the most important. I follow through. This is the most important. Follow through, right? I follow through whatever my values are, whatever my words I'm speaking about, and I'm acting towards it. So what is the purpose of integrity? Let's understand the purpose of integrity. The purpose of integrity is very important. It is a foundational virtue. It is a foundational virtue, the bedrock upon which good character is built. It is a bedrock upon which good. So virtue is not debatable, right? It's virtue means that it is supreme. You can debate a value, you can debate a value, but you cannot debate a virtue. So integrity is a supreme virtue that creates your character. And what is a requirement to be integral? I can just not say that I get up early in the morning, I say that today I will be integral. No. What is the requirement? The requirement is this: it requires moral courage. Or courage of conviction, which we'll be doing tomorrow. Courage of conviction, very important. So what is requirement for being integral? It's your moral courage or courage of conviction. Your courage of conviction. Right? Your courage of conviction, right? What is the purpose? It builds your character. It's a foundational virtue that builds your character, right? And what is the definition? It's a consistency. It's an alignment of what? Alignment of values, your values, your words, and your action. Now, guys, we'll understand types of integrity. There are primarily, we can say, 3 types of integrity. The first kind is integrity that shapes our identity. It shapes our identity. Now, it is staying true to the core commitments that define who you are. Who you are. That is your value system. Again, I have said that is your value system. Whatever your value system is, that I remain true to it. For example, Abraham Lincoln, right? He was true to what was his value system? That segregation, that slavery is bad. Slavery is bad, and he stayed firmly to that particular value system. And what did he do? Against the political pressure that he had. He had a huge pressure to stop the civil war, right? But he said that, okay, civil war is going on, that is bad. Let's keep on having, but we will not allow the South to have slavery or to own slaves. We will not have the South to own slaves. We will not have the South to own slaves. And hence, he was the pioneer of what? 13th Amendment. He was a pioneer of 13th Amendment of US Constitution, which is a very famous amendment which abolished slavery, right? He continued the war in spite of the political pressure, because he had this firm belief that no, slavery is bad, right? So this is one example of integrity that shapes one's identity, that, it created an identity of Abraham Lincoln, that he was a moral man with a firm belief that slavery is bad. Second, privacy, right? Edward Snowden, he knew that NSA, he was one of the contractors of NSA. He knew that NSA was spying on important people, political personalities. One of them was German's chancellor, right? So he came out, the huge personal risk, he came out of that particular organization, right? He came out of the particular organization and he acted as a whistleblower. Again, what did he show? He showed the commitment through his true belief. What is his value system here? What is his value system? Understand, always focus on the value system, right? Always focus on the value system. That is, the value system is that privacy, spying on others is bad, right? It's bad. So I have to expose this. So he did that. What is the second kind? Let's understand the second kind. The second kind, we have that integrity towards society. That defending your best moral judgment within the society, right? If I think that this is bad for the society, I will defend nonetheless. And we have seen 2 great brave heroes. They have sacrificed their life. Which were the 2 great heroes? First is I. Shanmugam Manjunath, right? He exposed what? He exposed the massive petrol pump adulteration racket in Lakhimpur Kheri, if you remember, right? And he was murdered. Right? Who is the second personality? Brave soul of India is your IEA Satyendra Dubey, right? He again exposed corruption with regards to your national highway, right? And he was also killed. And remember, it was no other than our Honorable Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee, from his Prime Minister office, has written this particular quote, and you can quote this if possible. Like all right-thinking Indians, I am shocked and saddened by the murder of Satyendra Dubey, an upright and dedicated officer working with NHAI, was killed recently in Gaya, Bihar. Right? This shows that he believed that this particular value is good for the society. This particular thing is good for the society, that I expose the corruption. Corruption is bad. This is in my value system, corruption is bad. That is ingrained in my value system. And whatever the consequence of it is, I will follow through. I will act. I will just not speak. I will act. Right? So again, another good examples of your integrity. And then integrity to uphold moral purpose. Now, this is the most important thing. Every human being is moral. It becomes a moral being, right? Integrity is that tool that ensures that you are that moral being. It tests you. Integrity helps you to, world life tests you, whether you are a moral being or not. Integrity is that particular instrument, and if you are a man of integrity or a woman of integrity, right, you will stand by that testing, right? You will be successful in that testing, right? And hence show your moral self. And who did that? The best example will be Socrates. In Socrates, when he was given the death penalty, right? He was accused of corrupting the youth. He said that, okay, we will forgive your death penalty. but you have to recant whatever you have taught and you have to go to exile. He said that, no, I can't do that, right? I can't do that because my value system does not allow me to do that, right? So he not only spoke, he acted. And how did he act? He drank what? He drank hemlock, the poison, right? He drank hemlock, the poison, right? And obviously he died. But till the last moment, he remained true to what? His value system. His value system said what? That whatever his teachings were good for the people. I will not bow down to the so-called the powerful, high and the powerful, right? What is another example? Another example of, we see in corporate, UPSC ask questions on corporate ethics, right? Best example will be Verghese Kurian. When he started with Amul, right? He faced huge hurdles from middlemen, from bureaucrats, right? He did not succumb to that. He did not succumb to that, and he resisted those political interference, right? What is the second example? Ratan Tata, he refused to compromise on values and brand trust. He said that brand trust is supreme, right? He said that brand trust is supreme. I will not compromise my integrity for profiteering or profit, right? He said that, okay? Then another, so like let's see some of the quotes related to integrity. One of the best quotes, which is Albert Camus, The Myth of Sisyphus, is an essay that he has written, right? In that he said, I note every day that integrity has no need of rules. Why it does not need rules? Because rules are what? It is, rules are what? It is focused, or it is thrust upon you. Rules are thrust upon you by whom? By authority. Rules are thrust upon you by whom? By government. Rules are thrust upon you by whom? By the state. But if you're a man of integrity, right, you are dictated by your own moral conviction. You are dictated by your own value system, right? So you don't need rules. So he said, I note every day that integrity has no need of rules because you will be driven by your own value system, right? Yes, action is important, right? One of the famous quotes by Samuel Johnson, not Jackson. Samuel Jackson is an actor. Samuel Johnson. Samuel Johnson is he was a famous literary figure. He was a very famous literary figure from England, right? He said, integrity without knowledge is weak and useless. Why integrity without knowledge is weak and useless? Because integrity. So if you have integrity, that without knowledge you cannot align your value, without knowledge you cannot align your value, words and action. You need knowledge to align this value, words and action. You need knowledge, right, to align this value, word and action. So he said that integrity without knowledge is weak and useless. Because I have value, I can say and I do act. But alignment kahan hai? Alignment will only happen if you have knowledge, right? So he said integrity without knowledge is weak and useless. And knowledge, this is most important, and knowledge without integrity is dangerous and dreadful. Oppenheimer, he had knowledge, right? And did he have integrity? I don't know, right? Then A.Q. Khan, right? He had the nuclear knowledge. Did he have the integrity, right? People who commit such huge scams, they do have knowledge, but do they have integrity? That is a question that you should ask. Last but not least is Erich Fromm. He was a German psychoanalyst, right? And he said, integrity simply means not violating one's own identity. As I have said, do you remember? It is a foundational value. Foundation, it builds character. Integrity builds character, right? Okay, now we have understood the concept. We have seen some examples, some characteristics, and we have seen some quotations. Let's see how UPSC have asked question. Let's see. So this is a question in 2023. What do you understand by moral integrity and professional efficiency in the context of corporate governance in India? Illustrate with examples, right? So a professional efficiency we'll be discussing later. So moral integrity. What do we mean by moral integrity? The same thing that we discussed, right? Example of whom? Example of Socrates. Example of whom? Verghese Kurian. Example of Ratan Tata, right? Moral integrity, that I have this moral belief, right, and I will stick to it. My values, my words, and my action, they are in complete alignment, right? And you can give which quote? You can give such quotes. You can give such quotes. Integrity simply means not violating one's own identity. I note every day that integrity has no need of rules, right? You can give such quotes, right? Okay. Let's see the second question. Integrity is a value that empowers a human being. Of course it does. Why? It is again a foundational value. How it empowers a human being? It empowers a human being to take action, right? It empowers a human being to be decisive. It empowers a human being to be compassionate, right? So you can use the examples that I've given you. You can use the types of integrity to answer this question, right? Then Socrates have said, an unexamined life is not worth living. What do we mean by unexamined life? What do we mean by this? What do we mean by unexamined life? Unexamined life is that you don't know about your value system. If you don't know about value system, what you will be speaking about it? How can you take action? So you should know about your value system. You should align your value system with what you say. You should align what you say with how you act, right? Value system, your speech and your action, they have to be in consonance. They have to be in alignment. And that is the reason why Socrates, when he said that, you give me death sentence, but I will not compromise on my value system. I will not compromise what I have said, and I will not recant what I have said. And for that, if you're asking me to drink hemlock, I will do that particular action, and I will succumb to death, but I will not compromise on what? My value system and what I have said, right? This is again very important, right? Let's see the next one. Now, this is a very famous quote by Warren Buffett. Now, he said what? In looking for people to hire, you look for three qualities: integrity, intelligence, and energy. And if they do not have the first, the other two will kill you. Best example, Samuel Johnson also said that. Samuel Johnson also said that, right? Let's see, what did Samuel Johnson say? Integrity without knowledge is weak and useless. The second part, the second half, and knowledge without integrity. Knowledge without integrity is dangerous and dreadful. The same, I have the knowledge, I have the capacity, I have that efficiency, whatever it is, but I don't have integrity. So I will be driven towards corruption. I will be driven towards harm, right? So again, so this particular, right, what do you understand by this statement in the present day scenario? We can give so many quotes. We can give quotes of so many corruption cases that is happening. Do these people don't have intelligence and energy, knowledge and energy? They do have knowledge and energy, but what do they lack of? They lack of what? They lack integrity, right? And hence Warren Buffett said that whatever it is, right, first choose a man of integrity. First, that man should be integral. If he's integral, what knowledge and your energy, wo aa jayega. But important is integrity, right? Okay, guys. So this is the first term of the series, integrity. Tomorrow we'll be doing courage of conviction.